Alright, well, here you go. There's my gas tank. I got lazy and I didn't show you what I was doing with this thing, taking the rust out of it. Um, there's 101,000 videos out there on 201,000 ways to do it. So I didn't think it was necessary, but I'm going to change the gasket on the fuel sending unit, so I figured I might as well make a video of this before I do that. Here's what I used, Evaporust. It's not the cheapest way to do this because that's about $25 a gallon, and that's a 5-gallon tank, so you do the math. But I had the money to splurge and went with it. So this has been soaking for about 36 hours. Every 8 hours or so, I have to take some out and put it back in here because, well, in fact, I'll say that you should probably make sure you get a container to put this in, unless you know, want it to pee all over your floor. And it's got a petcock, an old petcock on there I cinched down as good as I could. So this is about 10 hours worth that's kind of slowly leaked out. And when I got it, I just take some out and squirt it back in here. And there you go. Don't worry, this stuff is actually pretty safe. In my case, the only thing I had to do is, just as an extra precaution, is if I spilled anything, wipe it down a little bit, because red paint very often has oxides in it to make the color, and I didn't want this stuff to start pulling out all that. Then I'd have to come up with the money for painting the damn thing. But figured I'd make a video because now I'm going to drain this out, and then I've got to replace the gasket on the fuel sending unit. So here we go. All right, let's get the last of this out. And next up, you want to swash around some distilled water in here. Alright, well, before I go any further, might as well show you, if I can, how this did. My tank wouldn't even have been a really good example for this if I had done a full video of this step. I had flash rust. You can see there's a little bit right here in the opening. That's just because it kept draining down on me. But you can see there's no, if the damn thing can focus, there you go. You can see there's not really anything going on in there. It's all good. I only had a little bit of flash rust, mostly down on the bottom there. And after 36 hours, yeah, that's not bad. So the next step is distilled water. Hoping 1 gallon's enough. I just need to swish it around in there for a little bit to get all of that stuff out. And I've left the bottom open. Now you notice one nice benefit of using this stuff, as opposed to things like muriatic acid or electrolysis. I'm inside. There's no fumes. Yeah, it's not the best smelling stuff, but there's no fumes. Electrolysis, you're basically making a hydrogen bomb. Okay, I'm exaggerating. A little. Alright, so I'm going to drain that out. And next, I'm going to swish around some alcohol. Now for this stuff, you might want to make sure there's a little bit of ventilation. Last step, WD-40 like your life depends on it. Of course, I should say, if you're going to put gasoline right away in this, well, that's what you would be using instead of the rubbing alcohol, and you wouldn't need any of this stuff. Just rinse it out with gasoline once, make sure there's no particles, and then fill it up with gasoline once you've done all that. Probably put a little filter on there, fuel filter. Look at that. Ooh, the hell did they do? Sealed it around. I get that they were trying to keep it from leaking, I guess, but the sending unit, that's borrowed time. We're gonna see if we can't replace that. Alright, let's see. Also gotta take care of this wiring. What the hell did they do here? It doesn't even seem like it was necessary. The thing unplugs at the other end. Anyway, alright, let's see. So these are 10mm. Alright, now the fun part is getting this stupid thing off. What the hell were they thinking? Yum. Hey. That's not a bad tool to have, right? Alright. Out it comes. There we go. There's the old original gasket, and there's my sending unit. Alright, so best I can tell is instead of replacing this, they just, I don't know, went around it with goo. So we're going to clean this up and put a new gasket back on there. I wish there was a rebuild kit for these things. You can take this off and, well, I guess you'd rewind it. Apparently these are known for not being terribly accurate. Maybe it would help if they were rewound or something tighter, who knows. There's probably an aftermarket solution that might be a good option, but I'm just going to clean this up and put it back in. Well, unfortunately, I was being a little over-optimistic, thinking that just a gasket, new washers, and a cleanup would be all this thing needs. The resistance, this one's a resistance type, I believe, not one of the thermistors that just tells you empty. So this is more like the car style. But let's see here. I don't have any alligator clips, so prop him up here. And let's check out ohms. And let's see. Got that guy hung in there. And since I got the raw wire, so, and if you remember, so that tab pointing down, that's essentially down. And this is up. So this means empty, full, right? So right now, I don't know if you can see that, but here we go, 0.323 empty, and we start going up, and well, it's getting more to the okay, we're above decimals here, and so at the top 306 or 30.6 ohms, and then down here, oh, see, that didn't look right. It's generally doing what's supposed to, I guess, if I knew what the ohms were supposed to be. But I think I'm going to clean this out anyway. I'm not trusting it. I have no idea how the fuel gauge is, because I've only ridden the bike once, and that was a year ago. So we'll just clean it up. Maybe this guy will help me again. Hey, there we go. And over there's one there. Come on, there we go. Alright, so now we've got that off. And you can see it inside. So, it doesn't look all dirty in there. It might be just connections out here, who knows. But, I'm going to use some vinegar and clean that up. Well, good to know that the cap was open. Now I'm going to smell like a Irish pub. Now I want some fish and chips. Shit. Okay. Where was I? Make sure you clean it up too. You don't want the vinegar doing its own kind of corroding. Alright, well, I've cleaned this up. I used some vinegar and Q-tips. Also went outside and cleaned with some electrical spray and cleaned that up, and it looks a little better, but I don't know that it makes any difference. Here, you can see. Let's set this guy up again. And I've got that on there already. And there's that. So you can see where that is there. This is empty. And full. Yeah, see that? Oh well. At least you know what it looks like inside. I can just give you a kind of a close-up here so you see how this thing is working even. Hard to focus, but you can see. So this little metal bit right here, copper I'm presuming, runs across the wires at different positions. And one thing that you might want to do on yours, if it's dirty, is run an eraser along this the windings there and this. In fact, there is a screw here that you can take off. Remember to use the right kind of screwdriver. It's got a dot, it's the GIS, and pull that out. Make sure you don't lose anything, and clean it up. There's also a little bit of a copper, you can see that little U in there maybe. I'm not entirely sure what that does. Maybe it kind of just there to apply pressure. That's pretty much how the insides are. So I'm going to put this back together and tackle putting a new wire on here. So that's out of my hair, and then we'll put it on the bike. I may not have thought that through right. Now I gotta pull this back. It's going over both wires. Oops. Well, let's see. Maybe this works just fine for me. That goes here. I've cleaned the surface as best I can, done what I could to clean some of the gunk out of the threads there. So we're going to try putting this back in, and here's my new gasket. goes there. In we go. Okay. Also need these sealing washers. And I rebuilt this in a different video, so we're going to put this on now. Got my bolts. Don't forget your washer that you need there. A little fiber washer. And okay, well, misfortune is a bitch. I cleaned everything up and promptly found that it was leaking from around the plastic part right there, just right through it. Probably from when I cleaned it up, or maybe that's what they were trying to fix and never succeeded. So this doesn't look very pretty because I made another mistake and thought I had gotten the right kind of sealer, an RTV that was able to handle petroleum, but not really the right thing. So I've redone with this. So I guess take the lesson from my mistake and use something that actually says fuel resistant. And apparently that Permatex PermaShield is the best stuff. So this I'm gonna let set up, and then I'll put the gas tank back on, and that's all she wrote, folks.